everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful Zara cap with pleated band and a double bow design at the back. The materials needed to make it are I'll be starting with the Zara cap, and the measurement is 16 inches by 28 inches. The 28 inches is for the head circumference. I'm using a satin fabric. Okay, I cut it out in two places, you can see, because I want to line it. I'm lining it with a satin fabric, and you can use another fabric and line it. So next, I've placed it right side facing each other. So I will come and mark 3 inches for turning it inside out after sewing it. Okay, so I'll mark out 3 inches. Okay, so I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll sew 1/4 of an inch, and I'll stop here. I'll start here and go round and stop here. I'll be sewing 1/4 of an inch. This is it after sewing it. So next, I will turn it inside out from the opening I left earlier. Okay, this is it after turning it inside out. Okay, you can take to the sewing machine and close up this opening. After that, I will cut out my marco. The measurement is 2.5 inches by 18 inches. 18 inches for the head circumference. Okay, next I will fold in half and mark the middle. I will repeat the same thing on the other side of my marco. Okay, this is it. Next, I will fold my fabric in half and mark the middle too. Okay, next I will place them middle to middle, you can see. Okay, then I will take it, I will pin it down. Okay, next I will be pinning here and I will be pinning here to keep my marco in place as I sew. Next, I will take to my sewing machine and I will sew from here to the end. This is it after sewing it. So next, I will remove this pin and carefully I will turn my marco so that the sewn part will come to around the middle of the marco. You can see. Okay, this is it. So this is now the wrong side of it. Next, I'll ensure that I still have the same leftovers at the sides here, you can see. Okay, so next I'll be pinning my marco here to keep it in place. So next, I'll get my elastic band. I cut out 3 inches. I'm using 1 inch elastic band, and this is 3 inches. Next, I'll be inserting my elastic band. I'll insert it inside this opening here. Half an inch will be on top of the marco inside. Okay, so I'll insert it. Okay, this is it. I'll make sure that the half an inch is on top of the marco. Okay, then I will shift out my hands a little, you can see, and hold it with pin. Okay, I'll repeat the same thing on this side. Okay, next I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll be sewing just after the marco. Immediately after the marco, I'll be sewing. As I'm sewing, I'm also sewing down the elastic band, and around where the elastic band is, I'll sew it multiple times. I'll repeat the same thing for this side. Okay, this is it after sewing it. This is the front. and this is the back. Okay, you can remove the pin. For the elastic band, I should have 2.5 inches left. I will pull it out to the edge like this, you can see. Then I will hold with pin. I'll repeat the same thing here. This is it. Then I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll sew it multiple times. I'll repeat the same thing here. Okay, this is it. You can see. Okay, next you can remove the pin. Next is to make the plaited part. The measurements are 5 inches by 21 inches, 4 inches by 21 inches, and 3 inches by 21 inches. The right side is facing me. I will fold like this and take to my sewing machine and I will sew 1/2 inch. I'll repeat the same thing for these two. This is it after sewing them. Next, I will be turning them inside out using my safety pin. I will be placing the sewn part at the middle. You can press with iron. Next, I will repeat the same thing for these ones. This is it. So I will be adding wording to it, and the measurements for my wording are 4 inches by 18 inches, 3 inches by 18 inches, and 2 inches by 18 inches. Okay, next I'll fold in half like this and sew. I'll repeat the same thing for these two. Okay, this is it after folding and sewing them. Next is to attach them. So I'll be using a safety pin to insert them. As you insert, you pull your fabric. Don't pull the wording, just pull your fabric and arrange it. I should be having about 1.5 inch excess fabric because wording tends to stretch, so I'll be cutting out some so that sewing it will be easier. Okay, I'll repeat the same thing for these two. This is it after inserting my wording. Next, I'll be folding in 1/2 inch on the two edges. I'll be repeating the same thing for these two. This is it after folding in 1/2 inch on each edge. Okay, you can see I held them with pin. So next, I'll be taking to my sewing machine and I'll be top stitching on them to close up the openings. This is it after closing up the two edges. Next, I will turn to the front. Okay, I'll be placing the 4 inches on top of the 5 inches. They should be on the same line at the back. Then I'll be placing the 3 inches on top of the 4 inches, you can see. Okay, I'll just hold them with pin. All of them should be on the same line at the back. Okay, next I will thread my needle and I'll start sewing. You can glue them together, but I prefer sewing them with my needle and thread. So I'll sew. As I sew, I'll ensure that my threads will not come out at the top. Just open one of them and insert your needle and thread. Okay, I'll be going back from the point that my needle is coming out from. Okay, then I will pick, for the top part I will just pick the back of it. I will not pick the front. You can see it. I'll repeat the same step again. Okay, you can see no thread is visible here. I'll continue like that till I get to the end. Okay, this is it after sewing them. This is the front view, you can see. Next, I'll be attaching it to my Zara cap. This is my Zara cap. I'll be placing it, you can see, like this. I'll hold with pin. Next, you can glue them together, but I will be sewing them. I'll be making a blind stitch. Okay, you can see I'll pick up the plaited part about 1 inch stitch length, you can see. Then I'll pick up my Zara cap fabric, same 1 inch stitch length, you can see. Then I will pull. Okay, then I will pick up my plaited band, then go back to my Zara fabric and back to my plaited band. I'll continue like that till I get to the end. Okay, I'm done sewing it. I'll knot my thread. Okay, next I'll remove the pins at the sides. So next I'll be sewing the sides. Okay, next, since the band is bulky for my sewing machine, I'll be using my needle and thread to top stitch on it, but I'll sew it in a way that it won't be so obvious. I'll be passing my needle and thread from where we sewed on the Zara Cap. You know where we sewed before on the 18 inches mark. I'll be sewing it there, and on the band I'll be sewing it where we top stitched on the band. Just watch what I'm doing. I'll first pass it through my band. I'll place them together. I will ensure that the needle is coming out from where I top stitched on the band. You can see. Then I will place on my Zara Cap. You see, I'm passing it right where I sewed before. You can see. I will continue like that. Okay, this is it. Next, I will fold it right side facing each other, and I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll place them together. I'll sew and sew. Okay, this is it after sewing half an inch. Next, just right after the band, I'll be making a running stitch from here to here, and I'll gather it. Okay, this is it after gathering it. Next, I'll turn it to the right side. Okay, you can see. Next, I'll set aside and make my bow. For my bow, the measurement is 15 inches by 25 inches. I have them in two places. Next, this is the right side facing up. I'll fold like this towards the 15 inches part. Then I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll sew half an inch. I'll be repeating the same thing for this. This is it after sewing them. Next, I'll turn them inside out, and I'll be placing the sewn part at the middle. I'll be repeating the same thing here. Okay, next I'll be inserting a wording to them. The measurements are 7 inches by 23 inches. Okay, I'll insert my wording. I'll repeat the same thing here. Next, I'll come to the two edges and I'll be folding in half an inch. So I'll fold in half an inch and I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll sew. I'll repeat the same thing for this. This is it after sewing all the edges. Next, I'll turn to the front part and I'll be folding like this, and I'll take to my sewing machine and I'll sew 1/4 of an inch. I'll repeat the same thing here. This is it after sewing them. You can see. Next, I'll turn inside out and I'll be placing the sewn part at the middle. I'll repeat the same thing here. We open up this seam allowance for easy plating. I'll be repeating the same thing here. Next, I'll be measuring it to cut out my loop. Okay, I have 7 inches, so I'll be cutting out 9 inches. So I will cut out 3 inches by 9 inches for the loop. This is my 3 inches by 9 inches. Next, I will fold like this and take to my sewing machine and sew half an inch. This is it after sewing it. Next, I will turn it inside out. This is it. I'll be placing the sewn part at the middle. Then I'll be folding in half an inch at the 2 ends. Then I'll take to my sewing machine and sew. After sewing them, next I'll place, you can see this is the wrong side, this will be the back and this will be the front. So I'll be placing the wrong side facing up. I'll wrap it around my bow and turn to the back, and I'll sew half an inch. Okay, this is it after sewing it. Then I'll turn it, you can see I'll turn to the right side. Okay, so I'll place in my bow right at the middle. Okay, I'll be sewing here, you can see I'll be sewing this part to where that doesn't have elastic. You see up here elastic is just 1 inch in between here, so I will stitch here this side of my loop. I will stitch it here, then this side I will stitch it here, then I will come down. I'll repeat the same thing. I won't be taking the elastic part. I'll stitch here, I'll stitch these two together, and I'll stitch these two together. Okay, when I'm done, I will knot it. I will be repeating the same thing for the other 3 like I said before. Okay, next you can attach your applique or your brush. I'll be attaching my brush. Okay, this is it. Thank you for watching.